Well, I was going to say, now you're built like a brick shit house, so it's like, how long did that take to bounce back from all that?
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Prestige Living Podcast. So with that, who do you want to be?
Hello, welcome to Prestige Living, your audio content that feeds you all the entrepreneurs in Orange County, the movers and shakers. I am your host, Jay O'Brien, here with your co-host, Jordan Wilson.
Good morning.
And Kane German.
Hola.
And today, our guest has an extremely interesting story. He's a huge part of the community here, plays a very vital role in the Center Club right here in Costa Mesa, and really started off when he was 17 years old, leaving Orangewood Group Home to start his own business, entering college, eventually dropping out of college at age 21 after selling his first business and making his first $1 million. Since then has started 2 tech startups and now speaks all over the world around student entrepreneurship. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Matt Dubois to the show. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, thanks for coming, man. So
thanks for looking so sharp today, too.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate that. We appreciate the fuchsia. So let's get things started. So in the very beginning, let's walk through at whatever early point you want to start at.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for the big intro. I usually don't get all that crammed in, and that's not what I lead with usually. But
that's not how your first date starts.
that's not, yeah, and then it falls up. Yeah, I'm Matt, and so how it started, how I started. I guess I grew up in Orangewood. It's the government group home system here in Orange County, and because my parents had all sorts of issues when we were growing up, and my dad was actually an alcoholic. I'll dip into this a little bit, but he was going through his recovery process, the 12 steps, and one of them is getting forgiveness, getting your people that you've harmed to forgive you. And his sponsor encouraged him to come and reach out to me and seek forgiveness. I told him, I was only 17 at the time. I was 16, actually, almost 17, and told him I'd only forgive him if he got me out of this hellhole.
We'd love to hear your story.
I said, I'll get you out, but can't do shit for you, and you're on your own. I was like, deal. Took a few months, time I was 17, and then just walked out, closed my back, never heard from him again, and then just kind of on my own.
So what was the first step when you got out?
I went to downtown Fullerton, and I ended up living in a abandoned building. There was a lot of construction going on at that time for a little bit, and ate whatever I could, and ended up getting a job pushing carts at Home Depot, and then started going to Fullerton College. Learned some stuff there, met some people, and got a good job at Nortel Networks, which was like a booming company then. This is 98, 99, so that was still a legitimate company. Just try to learn, just soaked up everything I could. And
what were you studying in school?
Business management. I wanted to be a stockbroker. Now I'd called a financial advisor, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. And got this tech job and loved it, was just soaking up everything. We're working on wireless network development there, and I ended up having this idea and problem they were trying to solve in their lab, and it wasn't something that I was like paid to do. I was just doing it on the side, and wrote a piece of software that monitored wireless networks, showed it to some people, and some people liked it and made me an offer. So I didn't even it wasn't even a company. It was
an idea.
It was an idea. It was a minimum viable product, an MVP. So it was a very crude version of monitoring software that worked as a proof of concept. And so this company, a publicly traded company, offered me a signing bonus and to have ownership of it, and that I'd have to work for a few years. And that was kind of it. So the whole package was pretty good. There was commas in places that I'm used to seeing, like decimals. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Turned out to be a really awful deal for me. They took advantage of it. That software now is the software that monitors every Verizon tower in the country.
Oh, wow.
Most of AT&T's cellular network, and Cox's antennas. So it monitors 29,000 antennas, and sites now.
How did you know how to build that? Like, I mean, were you learning these skills at Fullerton College, and then you're like, oh, well,
that's what I was.
Let me just use this skill set to come up with this, to execute on this idea that I have.
Yeah, there wasn't much I was learning at Fullerton College. I was just listening. This tech stuff was really cool to me, and I was just kind of watching what people were doing and jumping in on these labs and just trying to figure out how to write code. I'm a terrible coder, but I managed to write something that worked after hundreds of times of failing, and I didn't really have anywhere to go. So
I was going to ask, at the time, hindsight's 20/20 always, but at the time when you were offered that deal, the signing bonus and all that stuff, was that just like a no-brainer for you, coming from your background, or did you kind of go over things, mull it over in your head?
I tried to pretend that I was mulling it over in my head, but absolutely I was just like, hell yeah, like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. This is, I was riding around a old Volkswagen Bug at the time, and, I've never had nothing, came from nothing, and I was like, this is great. I took the deal, no negotiation, and I should have had lawyers review it, and I could have worked out like a royalty deal and be in a different position today, but it was a good learning experience. So every business that I've been involved in or worked on or created since then is recurring revenue. I want to sell something once and then make money forever.
And it's probably a really good starting point, right? Like a good injection of capital, if you will, for your next future ventures.
Yeah, that money goes quick, because I burned through that in like less than 2 years.
Burn through it how? Just living, being irresponsible, or investing?
Two of the three. So.
Okay, got it. Okay.
I had my friends, so I had my own little entourage there, and just buying places, cars, boats, partying. It's fun. I mean, after taxes and everything, that doesn't work out as much as it sounds like. You think that amount of money at 21, like, oh, I could retire, I could live forever. And then you get older and you're like, that's not that much money. I burned through it pretty quick. Had lived a lavish lifestyle for, I was like, definitely like acting like I was Kid Rock, just kind of like that hood rich and just having fun though.
Ball with the ball. So you built this for Nortel while you were working there? No,
I just built it as a side project. Learning what I did at the labs there, I had access to these really cool labs where they're developing wireless hardware and software, and just kind of stayed after hours. I would be there till like 11, 12 at night, 2 in the morning, just kind of figuring things out. I had free reign over, breaking and fixing anything I wanted to do. So just kind of.
Was there anybody there at the lab showing you this stuff?
There were some people. It wasn't like a structured training. I couldn't go in there during the day when I was working so much because that wasn't my job. It was just some basic PC tech stuff. So most of the time I got in there would be people that did work in that lab, staying after hours and kind of show me around and let me get my hands on those things. So
that's rad, man.
So fast forward past like the offer, the sale, and whatnot. At what point do you decide to create your first company, and how does that come about?
I guess it comes that the power broke. So I burned through that money. I had a 3-year contract where I had to stay with them, and I was basically paid to party. They just didn't want me to do anything and go anywhere else. So they gave me this like title VP of pre-sales engineering, and they let me hire like a really hot like executive assistant, and so I'd stay, and I just had to travel all over the country for like a year and just basically drink. I spent like 2 weeks a month in Vegas. I was like
2 weeks.
Yeah, I traveled Monday through Friday.
Did you visit museums and stuff? Like
yeah.
That? Like the libraries are there?
The library, bro?
Oh, bro.
I had more meetings at the strip clubs there in that year than I think I was like the only 23-year-old that was like burnt out on Vegas and strippers and drinking. So I didn't go to Vegas for like 6-7 years after that. I was like, I'm done. I'm spending 2 weeks a month here, and that's just where everybody wanted to meet and have these meetings and drink and do these deals. And I didn't do anything. There's like salespeople there, and they're selling to these people, and I was just kind of like this novelty, like, oh, and this is the guy that wrote the software. And then nobody asked me any questions, and that was it. So I come home on weekends, party, had a place on the sand in Newport, and just kind of continued the party. And then I've never applied for a job, so I got an offer from Boeing that found me through somewhere to help them on a 2-year project to split up one of their strategic targeting systems divisions and lead this program. And then another offer from Citadel Investment Group like 2 years after.
So you're like 24 at this time when you get the job offers?
Yeah, because I couldn't do anything else for a few years because I was kind of
Still
stuck with them. Yeah.
Did all this tech stuff, does this come natural to you, or did you have to learn it? Because it's just such my brain just does not work that way.
Yeah, I guess
totally.
I guess it kind of comes natural.
How did you discover you had that within you, like that you just took to it? Like, how did you figure out, like, oh, this is easy for me?
Somebody wrote me a big check.
There you go. That's the incentive right there.
It's a nice catalyst.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was any bit good at it when I was doing it. It was really discouraging writing software and just having things not work and trying it over and over again. Again, I had nothing, there was not much to go home to, so I didn't really know what else to do. And it was just something that kept me busy, and it was a challenge.
Immerse yourself in it?
Yeah, it wasn't working, and I was just, set on I wanted to get this working. And once I did and showed people, just kind of fell together at that point.
Got it.
So did you accept the Boeing job at that point?
Yeah, I did. So I did 2 long-term contracts in between then, and some advising. I helped Western Dental grow from like a few offices to like 240, as oversaw their whole expansion. Boeing, Citadel Investment Group, it's like a $5 billion hedge fund, their data center upgrades. So I did a few things for a few years, and then decided to start the 2 companies I have now. Well, one of them.
What was the first one?
The first one I started was D2 Business Solutions, and what I wanted to focus on was a recurring revenue model. So we were doing cloud computing in 2008. I had this idea for application delivery and actually wrote the software. Then the software's awful now. So many better things have come out, but I wrote a software for application delivery out of data centers, and we sold it to a handful of clients. We got in. I was in Inc. magazine at the time in 2008 for delivering, because Citrix and VMware, they weren't even doing it yet, and so got a lot of coverage on that. Built up the company a little bit. Had a partner. That partner situation did not work out. He ended up taking a lot of money without telling me, and
damn,
kind of cut him out. Yeah. Money changes people. One of the things that happened when I was, go back. One of the things that happened with that first round of money is I had parents get in touch with me that I hadn't seen, and that came into my life and were apologetic about, hey, we made some mistakes, and we actually really care for you, and do you mind if can I borrow some money? So I was like, oh wow, you really care for me? Sure, how much do you want? And then not to hear from them again after that. I was like, oh well, maybe they didn't. So I haven't heard from them in now like 15 years. But started this company, brought on somebody as a minority partner who would help with some of the sales stuff, because I just wanted to focus on the technical. And I got this partner. Got a little free with the books when I got diagnosed with cancer. Whoa, sorry.
Do not tap on that motherfucking table.
Now I have to edit that shit.
I got diagnosed with the stage 4 M1C cancer shortly after I started the company, which is
stage 4.
Stage 4.
So in 2008, you're starting the company.
Yeah.
And then how does one just realize, like, hey, I have stage 4 cancer all of a sudden?
Start passing out just like randomly, not drinking,
Really?
just like making a sandwich and just fall on the ground. Passed out in the shower, and somebody's like, yeah, you should probably go to the doctor for that. And I'm like, oh man. actually went to the doctor and had a small surgery on like an extended lunch break. Checked myself out. They cut a little bump they saw in my neck. They cut it out and then did a biopsy. But it was like 4 hours. I just took off. I didn't tell anybody. I had to go back in a few days later, and they told me that it was cancerous and that I had to go do a full scan. Came back a few days later, and they're like, it's spread. It was at my brainstem on my C1, C2 vertebrae behind my left cheek, right jaw. I had tumors on my shoulders, my left shoulder, right shoulder, neck. So yeah, the tumors all around. So
Jesus.
Yeah, for a year and a half, I did a dozen surgeries. So I have a hole drilled on the top of my head. I have this scar that goes from here to here that's been cut open 3 times. Over my left shoulder, I have a scar here, and then right shoulder, another one here. And you can see my neck kind of sits lower on this side than here. So I had a bunch of tissue removed. I have no sense of feeling all over the right side of my body, from basically, from my ribs to this whole side of my face. So can't feel an ear, can't feel heat, touching. I got this gnarly tattoo done because in like one sitting.
Shit.
And they're just like grinding away on the bones, and they're like, it's like, I can't feel it, man. This is great.
So if we were to play Slug Bug, hit the right side.
Yeah, hit the right side. I won't even know we're playing.
So when
there's a downside to that too, though. So a girl can't kiss me on the right side because then I won't respond. I'm like, not no.
So when that happened, were they able to basically just kind of get rid of the cancer straight away, or were there complications? You said it was a year and a half process.
Yeah. So I had 12 surgeries. I did a 5-week medically induced coma with a high level, with a high dosage of chemo. So they put such a high dosage in that they had to put me in a coma for a time. And then after that, I did a year of treatment, and I had monthly PET scans, CT scans, CAT scans, and it kept coming back. So they just kept cutting me open, and for a year and a half, I was like, having surgery at least every month, and going through chemo, and it was a pretty gnarly year. Obviously lost all my hair, lost like 40 pounds, and just not a good way to start a business.
Right.
Was there anyone very close to you in your life at that point, like helping you kind of as a companion get through this?
A little bit. I haven't had much good luck on trusting people, because I had my best friend for years managing the business finances that, when I got back around to it, found out that a lot of money was missing so he could pay for a wedding that was not approved. The wedding wasn't approved either. I didn't approve of that. That's a separate story.
That's a different story.
That's a different story. But that's not the reason why that the money wasn't approved. But and then I had somebody who was close to me that I had to, because I have property and other things and assets, I had to put somebody in line to make decisions just in case.
Sure.
And, I had somebody, and they also got a little overzealous with that. So, it made it out, and kicked some butt, cleaned off the roster, and
so this is 2008. You're starting a business. I mean, we haven't even addressed the obvious, which is you're starting a fucking business in 2008.
You're overcoming some serious adversity, trust, medical.
So, and 2008, everything's falling out, and people are definitely not thinking of starting businesses, unless there are the entrepreneurs that are spotting the opportunity, like, oh, now's the time, But for the most part, people are scared shitless, like their retirement's going down the drain, like all this stuff. So, when you did decide to start this up, how many people are there? Did you have to raise money? Did you use your own money?
Use my own money. I've never been a fan personally of raising money or going into debt on anything. So used own money, and just started off with myself, a partner, and one other person, and just working on developing this software idea we had and putting it into a data center and trying to sell it. Our whole angle was that we could save companies from this large capital expenditure for systems upgrades by getting them on a recurring monthly plan, so we could, basically like leasing a car instead of just buying it cash. We could do that with application and IT infrastructure, and then approach some software vendors, say, look, your software is $100,000. These people can't afford it. They're not going to be able to afford it for many years. You don't want to give it to them because you don't want to get in the business of trying to collect after. But if you use my system, I can make sure that they can never walk away with it. Like, they have to pay because I'll hold their data and you can deliver their software. So you can now make more sales because you're not having to worry about putting this $100,000 piece of software on there. And then hopefully they keep paying.
Right.
So they had no leverage there. And my whole sales angle was, we could give you some leverage. So now you could reach a larger market and have better margins and have that security and don't have to deal with it. And then we'd kind of make the money on the delivery and the hosting.
So did you eventually sell that business, or is that still ongoing?
So that's the business I have now. Yeah, I had some smaller things in between. I've invested in a few tech startups. In some now. I'm actually have a 4:00 meeting on one of them. I'll probably talk a little bit about another in a few minutes. But we ended up adopting Microsoft and Citrix software and expanding the data center. Spun off a company that just does the hosting. So we have our professional services company, D2 Business Solutions, which is mostly regional, and then Cloud9 hosting, which is national and international. So we have clients. We have like government clients. The Prime Minister of Fiji is actually one of our clients. Random. That one's cool. They don't really do much there. There's nothing really exciting going on, but
that's that company is kind of like your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Cloud9 is the larger company. D2. I mean, they're both. They both provide some bread and butter. So
those are the two companies then.
Yeah.
D2 and Cloud9.
Yeah, those are the two companies right now that pay for everything.
Awesome. So how many employees do you have now?
16.
And you've got an office in Santa Ana and Irvine, correct?
Santa Ana, Irvine, data center in Irvine, and a data center in Asheville, North Carolina. Because we're doing some highly specialized hosting and services for these companies in regulated industries. So a lot of healthcare, financial services, aerospace, Department of Defense.
Okay.
Stuff, yeah. And
now you're speaking on student entrepreneurship in colleges around the world, and you personally left college. So what are you speaking about?
Good ways to leave college.
Yeah.
How to really make money and not go into debt with ridiculous college loans.
I think it's an important topic to discuss, so please elaborate.
Yeah, so I'm involved in a couple tech startups, just being in tech, love creating things. So, some money put into developing new apps or working with students that have awesome ideas and help getting it funded and the code written and hosted and delivered. And so I'm on the board for the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. We have a competition here in Orange County once a year, national events in Miami in a month, and then global event is in Bangkok in 2 months. So I speak, not only do I attend and participate in this entrepreneur award, I do speaking on student entrepreneurship or just young adult entrepreneurship. I got a good relationship with a lot of the entrepreneur programs here in Orange County and the colleges, Chapman, UCI, Concordia, and Fullerton, and speak there at their classes. Sometimes it goes over well at times, sometimes it doesn't. I just have different points of view maybe on a few things than the teachers do.
What piece
and
of
I hate people that talk about entrepreneurship and have never owned a business. It drives me absolutely nuts.
Yep.
I don't care how much you study. If you've never done it, like, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. It drives me insane.
Is there a particular sentence or a particular piece of advice that you give at these speaking events that gets the biggest gasp from the crowd, or people draw their breath in, or anything like that? Like, what gets the biggest reaction out of your crowds?
Well, people ask. So I dropped out because I had to travel, and for when I sold that company or that software. And people ask, are you ever going to go back and finish? And I was like, why? I'm like completely unemployable as it is. Even if I wanted to work for somebody, I don't think anybody would hire me. I'm too tough to deal with and too opinionated. So, I'm
looking down at your socks right now, and they do say "I'm with Awesome."
They say "I'm with Awesome," and they point.
And they
up.
point up. Yeah, that's a classy move right there. That's a classy move.
I'd hire you just on the socks.
I just looked down and I was like, well, that's something I need.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, you bring up a good point. People are always like, "Are you gonna go back and finish?" Or it's good to have, and it's kind of just like people don't know the reason as to why. They just say you should do it, and it's like just because we're ingrained to do that in the past doesn't mean that that's at all applicable or even relevant in 2016.
Yeah, they've heard it all their life.
Yeah, so that's how it starts, and they'll go, so you're going to go back? And I'm like, no, why would I go back? And they're like, just so you have your degree. I was like,
for what?
For what? What is that going to do? I'm not going to make any more money. I don't even necessarily agree with the system. I think the education system's broken. So often I'll get coached to try not to talk too much about that, but I'm like, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna
don't do that. We need to get paid.
Yeah, we're trying to keep this place open here.
Yeah.
So I tell them, that they ask, what's the best things to do, and in my opinions, and it's usually not favorable to staying in college, and if you think that getting your degree is going to make you a better entrepreneur, then you're not going to be a good entrepreneur. It's in your DNA, or it's not, and you're either hungry and you're going to thrive no matter what, and there's no book that's going to teach you that or class that's going to teach you that. You just got to surround yourself with the right people and have that. And, you could learn some decent things in college, but I would say nothing that I learned in college has helped me.
Yeah.
So,
and that's fair. I get that.
Yeah. I mean, learning things the hard way. I've done a lot of that. So I've made money and then lost it a few times in things, but I learn each and every time.
Speaking of advice, I was going to ask you, what would you say to, or what piece of advice would you give to the 17-year-old version of yourself when you're walking out of that home?
Oh,
Like, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 17-year-old self?
Just keep your head up. I mean, I think that the toughest part in that and any part of my journey is just not becoming your own worst enemy. It's really easy to get discouraged because everybody's going to tell you no. Get judged on either the way you look or how you present yourself. Being a 17-year-old that's not dressed well, you don't get a good response if you're trying to apply for a job, but nobody knows your story, so it's they don't know your struggle, they don't know your story, and don't get discouraged because you'll get a lot of no's, and that's probably the toughest part. You at times you just kind of want to even less now that I've got older and more established, but you just get knocked down like 100 times and just know that one time somebody's going to say yes and it's going to be the right answer, and you'll get what you want. But that's the toughest. Just hang in there and don't lose that passion.
And don't get used to having that boat.
Don't get and get a prenup.
We want prenup.
That's good advice.
So the Cloud 9 and D2, how long did it take you to get those up and running? I know you said you were in medical dire straits.
I would say D2, we had our first sale in 3 months. It took me about 6 months to write the crude version of the software, enough to sell it to make some more money to continue to develop it. Cloud9 was just a spin-off. We were doing this consulting and systems integration for all these companies and referring them to other data centers to host their data. And I was like, well, why are we going to do that? I just want to make money, more money, both ways. So we opened up our own data centers and stacked them with servers. So a lot more, there's a larger barrier to entry to getting into data centers and servers and that space. It's not something that it's easy to start off with. Starting a consulting business isn't so bad. I mean, there's, you just have to figure out ways to cover your bills, and if you have some money in the bank, you're okay. But it's pretty capital intensive to get 2 data centers going on different coasts, and then going through all the compliance measures. So
that's what I was going to say, like security measures, compliance.
Yeah, that was about probably a year and a half or so working before we got those up, and were able to start filling in up with clients.
And while you were in the hospital, did you have like your right hand doing something? Did you have somebody in charge for you?
Yeah, I didn't have a good right hand, my partner wasn't, he was basically terrible. He thought he went to school, he got an MBA from Pepperdine, and just wasn't an entrepreneur by any means. Nice enough guy at times, but just not cut out for it, and not a leader, definitely a follower. So it suffered. That first year was while I was out was rough.
And for 5 weeks, you're in a coma.
Yes.
And I mean, how is that? You freaking wake up and you're like, oh shit, almost a month and a half has gone by.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
I'm like 30 pounds lighter. I have no hair. Well, I look like a homeless cat. I have like portions. I didn't shave my head entirely, so I have like these portions of like chunks of hair on my head. And
I mean, do you feel like you were dreaming? Do you feel like you were lost?
Did it go by?
Hell, like absolute hell.
Yeah.
Like my veins were burning. Just really frail. Couldn't walk. Yeah, I mean, your muscles, atrophy sets in, and you're just. I mean,
well, I was going to say now you're built like a brick shit house. So it's like, how long did that take to bounce back from all that?
Luckily, I've always been a big guy, and the reason I was able to go through those treatments was because I was a bigger, healthier guy. That was funny because that was some of the struggles being younger. And growing up in a group home is that I was like 6 foot when I was like 12. Like I was at like a growth spurt really young, and so the assistants and the guards there basically all looked up at me,
right. Which
doesn't make them treat you like a kid. They look at you as like an adult in the peer, and it's you're forced to grow up pretty quickly. So people don't realize you're only a teenager.
So I have to ask, what's next for you? Like, what do you see on your horizon? More of the same, or you got something in the works?
So building up these companies, I have a dollar amount that I want to exit on. I've set up CIC plans, chain and ownership control plans, to give my employees, a few of them, percentage ownership. So when they sell, they will be set. I think it's important to. These are another things that people don't like me saying at anything to do with entrepreneurship is I do think that you should share ownership of your company with those who help build it. I have like a heavy bonus structure. We pay probably 20% more than average companies that do what we do, and not being selfish. So I want to grow these. I have a number in mind that will take care of me and then my key employees. And then I got a couple tech startups that I'm doing. One is, I expect to get out in 5 years from one or both of the companies. One of the startups is something called I'll plug here. It's called Intangibly. It's a way to measure somebody's professional worth or their intangible assets.
So what's that called again?
Intangibly.
Intangibly.
Yeah. We got on Fox News. We're on Huffington Post. So we've had some good coverage. We're in pre-registration and beta right now. But I struggled hiring. Tech people are just notoriously like terrible with the interpersonal skills. So you can find a really technical person that was awful to talk to people. And I have a service provider company, so they have to have like good interpersonal skills and very technical. And it's easy to find one and not the other. And resumes are just really rough to read in that, and people can BS you a lot in resumes and interviews. So I was like, I wish there was just a way to find like that X factor. Like, how can I find that? So we've kind of set out to our slogan basically is the resume hasn't changed in 390 years since Harvard was developed, and we're set out to disrupt how resumes are written. So
I like that.
We have this thing called the intangible quotient. It's this algorithm that basically measures your professional worth or value, and our goal is to have that on every resume. So there's your year's experience, and there's your education, and then there's your intangible quotient. So
when do you expect that to go live?
We're hoping fall.
And how is it measuring it? Like, how's the quotient work?
Cool. So cool. Yes. The you guys familiar with like Google PageRank?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's kind of like a Google PageRank meets like a LinkedIn. So there are LinkedIn. You can get recommendations by people, but you could have 100 recommendations by nobodies. But wouldn't it be better to have one, if you're in tech, have one recommendation by like Mark Zuckerberg, or if you're in finance, have one by Warren Buffett? So there's a scale of like 1 to 10, and 10's giving you an endorsement, raise your score. So if you're like a 2 and you get an endorsement of 10, you could go to like a 5. But if this 10 gives 1,000 endorsements, they're no longer a 10, right?
No, like a credible, yeah.
Yeah, so there's this kind of checks and balance system, so the system can't be gamed. But I mean, that's kind of like the high level of what it is. So it's not the amount of endorsements, because people will be very careful on who they endorse. But
it's like, how much does the person's opinion matter who's giving the endorsement? Like,
yeah,
like, is that guy, just a friend or family member, or is he like, the founder of Google or whatever?
Right. I mean, yeah. Would you rather have Serge and Larry Page, Serge and Larry Page giving you 2 endorsements, or you have 150 people on LinkedIn who are just, could be worthless,
Yeah, exactly. So there's no weight to those.
There's no weight to those. So I think people largely ignore those. So we're trying to put a way to measure that, and that's basically what it is. Kind of like a PageRank for people. And
that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
So people can throw away their education and just use that. This is who you know and what you've done. That truly measures that.
So as we wrap up here, let's go ahead and plug everything so people can read up and find more about you and research your company. We've got D2, we've got Cloud9, and we have Intangibly. Is there anything else as far as contact information, websites, anything else you'd like to plug?
No, that's it. Yeah, D2 Business Solutions for local in Orange County and Southern California. Cloud9 hosting. We do students, check it out, because we give free hosting to students all over the country. If you're a student doing a startup, go and sign up, register. I pay for that. So, and intangibly.co. Check it out, pre-register. But that's it, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
What a
Love
story,
the story,
man.
Yeah,
Cool.
Excellent. We really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Seriously, dude.
Thank you.
All right, and dun, 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 dun.
If you would like to be on the Prestige Living Podcast or know someone that would be a great guest, go to www.prestigelivingpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your story.